So, hello Jack, and welcome to what I'm now calling the Regal Podcast. Decided that literally last night, so that's what it's called now. Would you like to give introduction to who you are, what
I
you
like
do?
it. I like it.
Good, good. Would you like to give an introduction about who you are, what you do, just so everybody knows?
Yeah. So my name's Jack Yewman. Um, I'm currently a uni student at the University of Derby, and I'm studying media production, which is a whole host of different portions of the media industry, including like TV, magazine, web design, even like radio. So this sort of thing, I guess, like podcasting as well. Um, but on top of all that, I'm sort of learning stuff on the side. As you know, I'm starting to get into my stocks and shares and that sort of stuff. Also doing a bit of freelancing, video editing and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I don't know, just trying to grow my, I guess you could call it my brand this year, um, and sort of propel myself into a good direction going forward.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, yes, you can definitely call it a brand. Like everybody obviously has their own personal brand. So to get started,
Mm.
then, what made you kind of want to get into stocks? Like, what was that inspiration that made you think, yeah, I need to start investing?
So, so originally, it's got a bit of backstory to it, this one, because it was around sort of start of secondary school, so maybe like around when I was 13, 14. There was this kid that we knew sort of in the class, and he was constantly going on about this Bitcoin, which I'd never heard of before, and we all sort of just took the piss out of him, really, because the amount he would go on about it was just like crazy. And at that age, you're not you're not just listening to any old shit at that age. You just sort of par it off, don't you? Um, so yeah, we sort of laughed him off for it, and then within a few years, the price of a Bitcoin went from £10 for one Bitcoin to literally like, what is it now? Like
Is it two
uh
grand or a couple of
twelve
grand now?
thousand four.
Or is it
Oh
more?
no, it's way more than that at the moment.
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. At the moment,
Oh yeah,
it's literally, yeah.
12.6. Yeah, 12.6k.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
Oh god.
imagine my imagine my disbelief when I was laughing this guy off for like saying about how good it was, and then it rose up to this sort of price. In 2017, it was about 14,000 as well,
Mm.
and that's when I was like, oh my god, I really should have listened to this kid, because I could be like balling in money right now. If I'd have just bought one for a tenner,
Mm.
that's
You'd be
that
rolling
would
in it.
have
Yeah.
set. Imagine a kid with like 15 grand, like you'd just be like, what would you do with that money?
I mean, you'd have probably smoked
Um,
it on something,
so
but
that's well, in a way, I'm sort of glad I didn't get that money, really. Um, but so yeah, this sort of put me in a position where I was sort of like, damn, I need, like, going forward, I need to pay more attention to these sorts of things. I need to get on board with these things before they turn into, what Bitcoin obviously did in 2017. So obviously, ever since then, I've been like that. And then this year, or was it? No, it would have been last year, 2019. I was working at Sainsbury's, sort of stacking shelves, boring sort of stuff. But we were allowed to have headphones in, so I could just put like one earphone in, and I would listen to podcasts. And that's when I really started getting into Joe Rogan and people like that. And I think that was the first time I'd heard of Elon Musk. And I sort of listened to the podcast, and the stuff he was talking about was like really interesting me. And it gave me the same sort of vibes that I had when I first heard about Bitcoin back in the day. So that's when I sort of started sliding towards looking at Tesla and seeing if I could invest in Tesla and see where that could go in the future. Um, but I think that's sort of the main thing that's got me into the stocks recently, is because I'm like, right now I've sort of got the position that I've built up savings over the years, like working at Sainsbury's and stuff, that I can now use to sort of start off my portfolio and get building, with stocks like Tesla, and obviously I'm branching out to others now. But But yeah.
So how did you go about like learning about how not just the which stocks to invest in, but how to actually go about investing in these stocks?
So you mean like sort of the platforms to use,
Yeah.
or like the brokerages, or so I sort of, I do what I do with most things. I just went to Google. You know, anyone can do that. You go on Google, just type in, all the best brokerages online, and then they'll give you like a top 10 or whatever. And I do a lot of research. I watch loads of YouTube videos, see what all the different opinions are. And what I've sort of thought at the time was the best option was this brokerage called Free Trade, which you can just get on the App Store. And it seemed like it was the best option for me at the time. But I slowly realized that they were taking a lot of fees off of you, sort of without telling you. Like, so every time you'd make a trade, I think it's mostly because I was trading Tesla, which is a American stock. So obviously you've got the currency exchange fees and stuff like that. But it was quite, I think it was like, it was under 1% of what they were taking, like of the overall thing. But it still felt like quite a lot when you're sort of using a fair amount of money. So eventually I came to the conclusion that trading 212 was the best way to go for me personally. And that's where I'm at right now, because they offer better sort of, or less fees for foreign stocks and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay, makes sense. You said you were branching out to different companies. Is that just individual companies, or are you hoping to branch out to like indexes like FTSE 500? Or what companies are you going to be branching out to in the future?
So I have sort of looked into index funds and whether or not it's worth putting a bit of money into them. But for me personally, I think it's their growth rates are steady, but they're not enough for me to, grow where I want to be, if that makes sense. So obviously not everyone has time to go and look at individual different stocks and see where, which businesses have a great growth rate, or upside and downside. But I feel like at the moment where I am sort of with uni and having a lot of spare time, I feel like I've got the time to sort of research into all these different companies and make educated decisions based off of that research.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's kind of like, how do you go about choosing a company to invest in? Like, for you, is it having a company that sort of shares your values, or that just interests you, or is it based purely on the upside of the actual stock itself?
So with Tesla, that was all just because I believe in the philosophy and like where it's going, and I believe in the guy that sort of runs it, or Elon Musk. So with that, that's all my long-term shares. I think I'm holding on to them for hopefully the next 10 years. But with other companies, sort of going forward, choosing which stocks to get into short term, I have been I spoke to your friend Harry, thanks to you sort of putting me in contact with him, and he gave me some insight, essentially telling me like all the stocks he'd invested in recently, like leading up to the elections, and his thought process behind them, and looking at them on the charts, you can see before COVID hit in March, some of these stocks were like 10, sometimes like even 20 times where they, like from where they are now, they were 20 times bigger before COVID hit. So it's pretty simple to sort of look at it in a way and say, life must get back to normal eventually, especially like with all this news about vaccines and stuff like that coming out now. Obviously they're going to have had quite a significant hit on the economic side with all of the debt they're probably in right now. But even if they come up to like half of where they were before, that's like what, 5, 10 times where they are now. So there's like definitely profits to be made. And also something else Harry said was about like companies like Aston Martin. If they did go down further than where they are now, they're such prestigious companies that they would more than likely get bought out by another company.
Mm-hmm.
So even and that would send the price going up as well. So it's just about weighing up sort of where the company's been, where the company's at, and whether it's got a higher upside or downside. I don't claim to be some sort of stock guru. I've only started, this year, the past 6 months, and I've got a lot more to learn. But this is just me speaking from what I've learned so far and what I believe to be true at the moment.
So you said that you've kind of started recently. Has the fact that COVID's kind of happened and that you've kind of had more time outside of doing other things, like more time to just focus on things you want to focus on as such, because you've been had to be inside because of lockdown. Do you think that because of COVID happening, has that accelerated, pushed the deadline forward as such for you then getting into stocks?
Oh, 100%. I think I'll be completely honest. As soon as lockdown hit in sort of March, and we were off for all the way through to September, really, those first few months, like from, I don't know, around April, sort of May, I was doing fuck all. I was doing nothing. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. I was literally just chilling and doing nothing. And I think by the end of those 2 months, I was a bit like feeling a bit more urgency. I was like, I need to get something and make the most of this time. I can't just sit around and waste this opportunity that's been given to me. Like, it's the same as you, I imagine. Like, I know obviously you started your business this year, and it must have. I mean, I say it must have been a great help, but you're obviously off anyway because you've got an enterprise year. But I can still imagine like getting in contact with people online must have been a lot easier because everyone just is online at the moment, like for yourself.
It's so much easier. At the very least, it saves me time. Like even if it's not any easier for me to like type messages or whatever, but even at a very bare minimum, it saves me time because like for example, this call. If because of COVID we're having to do this call over Zoom, and that's literally just a case of booking the call, coming on, having the call and going. But if it's not COVID, if lockdown didn't exist, then it would be a case of you're coming up to Leicester or I'm coming down to Lincolnshire or Derby even, and then we're getting it all set up and bringing cameras, and like I can't imagine that would be so much extra work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think obviously there's upsides and downsides to both. Like the production quality you can get being in person. I mean, obviously, as you know, with your internet at the moment, it's much to be desired. But you can, there's upsides and downsides to both. But I think for convenience-wise, it is definitely much easier to do it over Zoom and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I would much rather do them in person if I could, but I mean, especially because of my internet. Which, for anyone watching, that's why there's a slight delay between me saying things and Jack replying, or Jack saying things and me replying because of the internet. So yeah, but basically, if I could, I'd do them in person. And I think the extra effort it takes is definitely worth it. Because you can kind of, in person, you can build energy and like share rapport a lot easier than if it's just a face on a screen. Because obviously, it's 3D, it's real, it's in front of you, not just, like pixels on a screen.
See, I'm having this same issue at the moment with my uni work because I'm going to have to go. Well, I'm supposed to be doing this documentary. As you know, I'm at the moment working with these charity guys. They're on Facebook, I think, Sri Lanka 1,000 miles bike ride for charity. If you want to go find them, anyone, check them out. I think they'd definitely appreciate it. They're doing it for Calm Charity. Raising awareness for mental health and suicide prevention and stuff like that.
I'll leave a link in the bio for it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so for this documentary I'm supposed to be doing for them for my uni work, I obviously want to get the cameras out and go and do it in person because I think, especially with such a sensitive topic like mental health and suicide and stuff like that, you really want the people to open up to you, and even if you don't want people to get emotional, but obviously, for the cameras, it does look a lot more authentic if people are sort of getting, into it and getting upset or, opening up.
Oh, yeah,
And
100%.
I don't think you can get that same sort of reaction over Zoom. It's just not, you don't feel that same atmosphere, do you? It's not the same.
No, like when you go, just for example, like if you see, do you know Tony Robbins is?
I don't know.
Okay, so he's basically essentially like a motivational speaker, and you like look at his talks when he was giving them in person, and there's people like crying, there's people getting upset, there's people cheering, people screaming, and you just don't have that atmosphere over like a Zoom call, do you? So it's so difficult to create that atmosphere, and even if people are screaming, cheering, crying, how are you going to know? Because most of the time they maybe don't have their camera on. So, I mean, yeah, in person, 100% all the way, especially for film production.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, isn't it? That's why it's hitting practical courses so hard this year, and I really hope that the universities or even the government, I don't know who's meant to be in charge of all this, but someone needs to sort this out, because it is a bit of a shambles for practical courses, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So how has COVID affected you? Because obviously you are doing a practical course, and I can imagine that it's like borderline hell. So how's it kind of affected you, and how have you been dealing with it?
So I'd say usually we're meant to, in an average university year, I believe we're meant to be in at least 12 hours a week, sort of face-to-face contact time with the lecturer, and bouncing off ideas of each other and that sort of thing. But this year we're only down to 3 hours out of the 12 in person, and the other quick maths, 9 hours is on Zoom or like team meetings or whatever it is. So it's not great, because it's not down to the lecturers. Like, I don't want to like throw any lecturers under the bus, because it's like they can't physically teach us the same way that they could, in person with the cameras and like holding them up and and even like on some of our modules, we don't need to do a lot of practical stuff. Like at the moment, we've got a script writing module, which obviously can just be done on Word, and you don't need that physical interaction. But at the same time, like last year when we were doing script writing and stuff like that, it helped so much just to be in a room full of creative people that you can bounce ideas off of and talk to, and just even just having a laugh with a mate can spark an idea and go, oh yeah, I could use that in my story or something like that. But you don't get that online, because there's only one like voice channel, isn't there? You can't just whisper in your mate's ear, like, and have a quick convo. Everyone's got to mute their mics, or if you do say something, everyone can hear it. So it's just not the same.
Yeah, there's less freedom and less different, like like even the noise is 3D in, if you have a like conversation in person, like you say, you've got some people whispering, some people shouting. You can have a conversation with one person and overhear another conversation and then link the two together. Whereas, like you say, with this, it's very much you're segmented into rooms at best, or everyone else is muted and you've got one person speaking, and it's just very systemized, which is good for like a speech or a presentation, but not so good for having just conversation, like you said.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing is, like, I'm not sitting here and like complaining about everything and not trying to do something about it. I'm not that sort of person. Like, if I've got an issue, I'll try everything in my power to get that issue fixed, rather than just sit and complain about it. So I have been, over the sort of past few months, and even in the summer, because the end of last year was a bit of a shambles as well. I've been sort of in contact with the university through online. I've got in touch with the head of sort of arts, which is like the guy that controls our campus at uni, and there's been this constant back and forward conversations with them, trying to sort out some sort of compensation, really. But they keep batting it off, and they keep they'll blame the government, but then in the government sort of debates that they have, in the House of Commons and all that, they'll be talking, and they'll say, "Oh, it's actually up to the universities to decide, how they compensate the students." So it's just a blame game. They're just passing it back and forward, like it's your fault. No, it's your fault. It's your fault. And meanwhile, the students are just chilling around, getting the bad end of the stick, really, and not getting any. Yeah, exactly. So it's all a bit of a ball ache, really. But I'm not going to stop trying. And I have recently found out that we are under the. I don't know if you've heard of the Consumer Trading Act, but it was sort of updated in 2015, and it's very sort of detailed, and it goes over, like, basically saying that if you buy a product from someone, or a service or anything like that, you have a right to essentially transparency, and in some cases, if necessary, a full refund. So
does education
I'm not. Yeah. So it 100% comes under it. It comes under a service, because we paid a hell of a lot of money, like $9,500 a year, isn't it, for university. On top of that, you've got the rent that you're paying for as well, and you're not getting the same service that you would be in other years. So I think I'm within my right to say that we deserve, we deserve to be treated accordingly. But
to be fair,
I don't know.
I suppose it's not much different from like buying an online course. And if you was to buy an online course and it was promised, I don't know, in-person meetings as like training, for example, and then all you get is video, yes, you would then at least ask for a partial refund or a full refund because it wasn't as described. So yeah, no, I suppose I suppose it would make sense, and we should definitely be due some sort of compensation.
100%.
For the end of
I'm not expecting. I would say I'm not expecting a full refund. I am just, I'm being reasonable. I just expect to be refunded for the lessons that we didn't get in person, if that makes sense. So if I don't know if this is the right number, but say if we missed out on 60% of the year's in person, sort of face-to-face lectures, then I think we deserve around 60% of a refund. It just, you don't want to be paying for what you're not getting. I think online courses, what is it? Open university courses, don't they cost like $3,000 a year or something?
Have a look.
So why are we paying $9,000 a year? Oh, is it less? That's even worse then. Yeah.
What it basically says, for a lot of modules, you basically fund yourself, so you don't really have to pay as such. You just kind of pay for what you want to do. Oh, here we go. For the ones that you do have to pay for, it's $3,000 for the year. For a certificate of higher education. Okay, so it's $3,000. So it's $12,000 in total for a 4-year course. That's part-time. For a full-time degree, it's $6,000.
Okay. Right. How does that compare to? So I'm not sure how enterprise years work, like money-wise. Do you have to pay something, or is it just completely you do your own thing, you don't pay anything?
So enterprise year comes under a year in industry, and year in industry you pay $650 tuition fee. So I pay basically nothing anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So you've sort of got yourself covered there, really, haven't you?
Well, yeah. It's...
But it... definitely worked out for the best there, I think, for yourself. But
oh yeah, 100%.
I don't know.
100%.
It's just a frustration, really. But hopefully.
Go on.
No, go on.
Oh, you kind of touched on the creative side of it. Like, obviously, when you have conversations in person, you can get inspiration from there. Like, a lot of my best ideas come from having conversations with people, and it's completely unrelated, and then got a great idea. How have you found kind of coming up with ideas for like your uni projects and even your projects outside of university? So like the charity work you mentioned, how have you found coming up with inspiration and ideas and just generally the creative side of it without having that, source of inspiration?
So that's probably been the thing I've struggled with the most this year, um, especially with my design courses. So at the moment, I've showed you a page of it, I think, but I'm sort of doing a magazine for one of my modules, and you have to literally design every aspect of it, um, from the top of your head. So, something like that. Like last year, we had our lecturer sort of in the room with us, and he was some sort of creative genius. Honestly, like I'd sit there, and most of the other people would sit there for like bloody hours, like obviously like brain dead, like creative block sort of thing. But then he'd come over and then look at it for like half a second, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is a sick idea I can make." And he just touches it all up and makes it bloody amazing. I'm like, honestly, like I aspire to be like that one day, but yeah, obviously we don't get that this year at all. So it's you sort of sit there. Yeah, I mean, what I've had to do is just look online, watch videos, and see if I can get any inspiration from other people's work, and not obviously not plagiarize their work, but just sort of pick out a little snippet from each person's work that I see that I like, and then make it into your own sort of thing. But it's still not the same as a regular year, I'd say.
No, especially if you do have someone who is just an ideas guy, or girl, obviously, and like there's just those types of people that they can literally just look at something, look at 4,000 things that are completely unrelated, and just like pull them all together into an amazing idea, just like that, without even having to think about it.
Definitely.
You need someone like that around you at all times, honestly.
I think that's why in sort of a lot of media jobs with like creative stuff, you do get very small teams, but you have a team. Like a team is literally there for a reason. It's because everyone needs to bounce ideas off of each other, and obviously like shut each other down if this idea is bad early on and stuff, so you don't carry on and waste your time with bad ideas. And you just need that atmosphere. You need that group of people that you can be, oh yeah, this is, this isn't good enough, or yeah, this is amazing, or and stuff like that. But one thing I have learned this year is I mean, I sort of knew it already, but just reinforced it this year. You do sometimes need to just get up and walk out, and maybe even if necessary, like go to sleep, just wake up the next day with fresh eyes, because it honestly can't underestimate the power of just looking at something with fresh eyes, because you can sit there for hours staring at the screen trying to think of something, and you won't get anything until the next day. So instead of wasting all those hours not getting anywhere, you should just move on, do something else, and then come back to it later, and then hey presto, you've got the ideas.
I've always found that my ideas come to me when I'm not doing anything or not thinking about anything else. So like I'm in the shower when I've just woken up, I'm tired, I'm not thinking of anything at all, or literally just having a break, or even on weekends when I'm like relaxing, and just not thinking of things, not stimulating my mind. It just all like on walks, I just have a lot of ideas that come to me, or one thing that happened the other day is I got into bed ready to sleep at like I think it was like 10:30, ready to sleep, and then all these ideas start popping into my head, and next thing I know I'm up till 1:30 in the morning because I've been writing down all these ideas ready for the next day.
Oh my god!
I didn't realise what the time was, so
Yeah. Well, it's good you can get carried away with your work like that. That's obviously like really inspirational, and the fact that you can be so passionate about it as well, I guess, just speaks to your business, I guess, and where it's going. But I'd say definitely like ideas do just come to you off a whim, and like you said about writing them down, I'm the same. I literally have to write them down because I know if I don't, it will be gone. Like by the time I wake up, it will be literally gone.
Yeah.
So
I had a call with a guy called Ash yesterday, and he taught me a trick where basically, because he has a lot of his inspiration in the shower, whenever he gets in the shower now, he puts his phone in the bathroom to record. So then if he does have an idea, he doesn't need to wait until he's out of the shower and he forgets it. He can just literally shout it out, and then he's got the recording of it.
That's clever.
Exactly.
Wow. I mean, whatever works for you, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'd probably pick up some weird noises because I sing in the shower. So if I was to record that,
Oh, definitely. I was saying to you the other day, like I can't believe how you managed to come up with so many ideas in general for your sort of copywriting and your posts online. So I don't know if you can sort of give us an insight into how you come up with those ideas.
so in terms of my content specifically, up until recently it was just kind of like splurged whatever ideas came to my mind on a page and then tried to organise it. And that's good in terms of you get lots of ideas out, but in the bluntest way, a lot of those ideas are then shit. So you need to then filter through, and it takes like time to then decide which is good, which is bad, and then it takes time to organise them into actual pieces of content you could create. So now what I do is with my content specifically, I try to create a specific type of content for each day and then alternate that through the days. So for example, Monday I always try and post something motivational, whether that's a quote, whether it's a story of like an entrepreneur who overcame something, whether it's usually something content related. So just some sort of something that's just uplifting, that's going to make you feel good at the start of the week. Whereas then contrast that to the end of the week on Sundays, I then try and post something that has more of an entertainment side of it. So it isn't necessarily teaching you how to do something, it's just, maybe it makes you laugh, maybe it just makes you go, huh, yeah, like, or whatever you do. So that's kind of how I structure it there. And then in terms of the ideas specifically, I try and have one main focus every single day across all the platforms I post on. So for argument's sake, let's say my focus for next Monday is Elon Musk. Then I can create a post about Elon Musk and then just kind of take specific elements that appeal to the different platforms more. So for example, LinkedIn, I can talk about Elon Musk as a professional business owner. For Instagram, I can post a picture of Elon Musk standing in front of the SpaceX Center or SpaceX rockets or something, something that's more specific to that platform. And the ideas are just kind of, when you structure it like that, it's not like going from, because before it was like going from, right, you've got no ideas to you need to think of 50 ideas today. Whereas now it's very much, right, you've got step 1 and 2 down because you know what type of content you're posting and the focus of that content. All you now need to do is just find something that relates those two. And once you've got 2 building blocks down, it's really easy to just link it. So if it's motivational and it's Elon Musk, it's Elon Musk's story because that's really motivational, basically. And that's kind of just how I do it. And once you structure it like that, whether it's content, whether it's business ideas, if you can get the very basics down and have a structure at the very basic levels, then it's really easy to just build more complex ideas on top of it.
Yeah, no. I think obviously, like I said earlier, with me working and doing this work for the charity, and I've been sort of doing their posts online, similar to the posts, I guess, that you do, just on a smaller scale. But I sort of have got myself into that same sort of routine of telling myself, okay, today is going to be a post on, motivation, or a fact on mental health, or if the guy sends me over a video, obviously I'll use that. But it is, like you say, all based around sort of giving yourself one sort of subject to focus on, and then it sort of narrows it down a bit, doesn't it? And you can create better ideas. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I strongly recommend for anyone creating content that you have a system like that. And I know I said I was going to come up with some more ideas for the charity because obviously I'm doing a little bit of work with them as well. And I'm basically, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you a structure like that, and then pass that on to them. And then it's just a case of, it's almost like a case of fill in the blanks rather than, right, now you've got to try and formulate all of the ideas in your head, basically. So it's just a much more manageable bite size, just get that done, rather than trying to make sense of everything. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now that'd be brilliant. That, yeah. we really appreciate the help, obviously.
Well, no, that's all right. I enjoy doing it. At the end of the day, it's for a good cause. And again, just for anyone watching, I will post a link to that in the bio so you can easily find it.
Thank you very much.
Going back a little bit then, so you've said about your journey at University of Derby and how you're sort of dealing with COVID with that. You also talked a lot about charity work. So you also said a few weeks ago that you're kind of branching out to Fiverr, the freelance platform. How's that going? Have you had any success with that? Or
So initially, I'd set it up because I didn't really know what I wanted to sort of do on Fiverr, but I thought after talking to you, I thought, I'll just set one up just in case, because at least then I've got the possibility of someone messaging me, even if it's like 2% possibility of someone messaging me and saying, can you do this for me, or get a little bit of freelancing work done. I thought it should be worth it. So I set one up a few months ago, and then heard nothing back from it really for a month or two, and then out of the blue, I got an email saying, so and so has messaged you on Fiverr, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's good, I guess. and then I went onto it, and the guy was like a fairly sort of big YouTuber, and he was just like, oh yeah, can you do some work for me? And I was like, at first I had to double take. I was like, what? Like I've literally got nothing. Like I haven't done any work for anyone on Fiverr yet. So how can this guy be messaging me? But yeah, I've sort of been doing a bit of work for this guy, and it's just a bit mad, really. The fact that I didn't, intend to straight away get loads of people sort of to do edits for and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you just sort of get a message. So I definitely recommend to anyone sort of thinking about going into freelancing or any sort of, Fiverr work, then just set one up if you're thinking about it. Don't wait until like you're ready to get into it or something like that. There's no point waiting around, because more than likely you're not going to get people messaging you straight away. So the best thing to do is just set one up and then let them come in slowly and build. You can build yourself up that way. I mean, obviously you've got experience with Fiverr as well, so.
No, I experienced pretty much the exact same thing. I created my gigs, as they're called, and I had no orders, no messages. I didn't even get any impressions on my gigs for probably 3 or 4 months, I think it was. And then all of a sudden I started getting a few here and there, like impressions, and then I was like, okay, so people are seeing my stuff. And then I think it was like month 6, I basically got 3 messages in one day for work, and I hadn't changed anything. And I was just sitting there just like, well, why?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, then from there I was getting pretty much, I would say it was an average of an order a day, or at least a request for an order a day. So yeah, no, it just took off for no reason. Like, there was no reason as far as I could tell. It just takes that one person to see your work. Like with you, it was that, semi-well-known YouTuber. You could do work for them. If you get a testimonial off them, then that next customer can see it, and then that next customer can see both of their reviews, and then it just kind of piles up and up and up. And success is exponential, whether it's in real life, living life, or whether it's on a platform like Fiverr. The moment you get one win, no matter how small, the next win's easier, and the next win is even easier, and it's just a big ball of success is the kind of way that I see it.
I think I'd definitely say it feeds into a philosophy I've sort of built for myself, which is just plant the seeds everywhere that you want to sort of be in. So if I want to get into editing in the future, even if I'm not ready now, just plant the seed and, let it grow. And then when you are ready, you'll actually have a platform there to sort of build from, rather than waiting until you get to the point where you're like, oh, okay, I'm ready now. And then, there's nothing to do because you haven't planted any seeds.
Yeah.
And it's the same with podcasts and stuff, I think. Just listening to podcasts can plant the seeds that put you in a direction, for growth. Because if I hadn't have listened to that podcast on Elon Musk while I was at Sainsbury's, who knows what I'd be doing right now, but it wouldn't be investing.
Exactly.
I know that for sure. So it's really weird how the whole butterfly effect thing works, and like how it can set you on a different path in life. And it really is just about planting the seeds, I think.
Yeah, 100%. That's why, like, for that reason exactly, that's why I'm all about consuming and creating as much content, as much stuff, putting as much of your stuff out there, whether that is content, whether that is, you know, messaging people, whether that's consuming like podcasts, YouTube videos. Just do as much as you can, because like you say, if you learn something from a podcast, that can then completely influence your whole career. You could, you know, send one person a message saying, "Hi, I'm an up-and-coming, you know, film editor. Do you have any tips for me?" And then in a year's time, you could be applying for a job, and they could be your future boss, and they'll remember you from that conversation. So it's just kind of like you say, it's little actions that build up over time, and you know, God knows where it could take you, basically.
Literally, exactly that. It's you never know what's going to happen in life. So, like I said before, just plant the seeds, and you know you can't go wrong. Some of the seeds will be deadbeat, like you know they won't go anywhere at all.
No, a lot of them will probably be dead, but all it takes is one.
100%.
All it takes is
Exactly. That's it. Like with your post, if one post came across someone's like some big copywriter's feed, and they were like, "Oh, this guy, you know, looks like he's got potential. He's similar to how I was when I was, you know, starting off." And then he picks you up and he's like, "Oh, you know, here's a load of connections and whatnot." Then that's all it takes, isn't it? Just one post to come across the right desk at the right time. So
exactly, and that's why I've now started posting as much as possible. So I'm now posting 7 days a week, not because you need that to grow a platform, but if you're posting 7 days a week, it massively increases your chances of getting your post in front of the right person at the right time, because you're posting so much more. You know, like if you make one hit, the chance of that hitting is so low. But if you do a million hits, sure, maybe you'll only hit 1% of them, but that's still 1% of a million, which again, quick maths. What is that? Is it 10,000?
Don't look at me.
10,000?
We'll say 10,000. Is he? You going into the calculator now? You gotta get this right. Determined.
I should probably know this off the top of my head. I do computer science. Yeah, 10,000. I did get it right.
Oh, okay. He's having a moment.
It's all good. Okay, yeah. I would have then you'd have 10,000 wins, but it's because you've tried a million times, not because you're better than most people. Basically, it's just a numbers game, really.
Definitely. I think if I had to say one other thing that can help you grow as a person in general, and build your philosophy and stuff like that, I'd definitely say that taking an attitude of, you know, you don't know everything. You have to be open to learning new things. You can't just be like, "Oh no, I already know about all that, so I won't bother listening to this person," or, you know, blah 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 blah. Like, everyone has something you can learn from, I believe, whether that be, you know, sort of learning what not to do because that person's a complete, you know, lunatic, or obviously the more easier sort of way of saying is like just learning off someone who's doing better than you at what you want to do. So like I've seen in your post, you talk about learning from your competitors and stuff like that. I feel like that's such a key thing, and just looking at a company that's doing what you want to do, and then taking that in and going, right, obviously I don't want to completely copy what they're doing, but what connects with me, and how can I put that into my business, and how can I grow my business with stuff like that?
The important thing to remember with that is your competitors have potentially built that idea that is them from the ground up. So they've actually had to work from, like, literally from the very root idea all the way up to where they are now. Whereas if you then take what your competitors are doing, you can just take step 100, which is where they are, and all you need to then do is come up with one idea and improve what they're doing, which is so easy to do once you have the first 100 steps. Because they've given it to you by existing. All you've got to do is take it, basically, and then just improve on that.
Exactly. Like, the internet is such an amazing resource, because you can literally look at somebody's work that they put decades into, and then, without having to have done that decades of work, that you've got that work there for you that you can just build upon and take that next step. And I just think it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and people need to take more advantage of it, I think.
Exactly. I think it's better in the long run as well, because if you've got a company that's put decades into their business to grow it to that level, you take it from there and put decades into it, and then somebody else takes it from you, and they, then that's compiled everything, and then they put decades into it. It's just like a big boy. It's only going to get better, and the innovations will only get better, and businesses will only get further along if you just learn from people that have done it before and just improve on that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
To me, building the foundations for anything are the hardest part. So why would you bother building the foundations if somebody else has actually created those foundations for you? Just use the foundations that have been given and just build from there. So much easier, so much quicker, so much better for everybody.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, definitely.
So another thing I'm curious about then is not just the work side of it, but also what you do with your free time, and more importantly, how do you structure your day so that you can find a good work-life balance, not become burnt out, but still get everything you need to get done.
So what I tend to do, I'm a bit of a night owl, if I'm completely honest. I've tried all through my life to not be a night owl and to be one of these people that can get up really early. And the amount of times I've tried to reset my sleeping pattern so I can get up at, 8 o'clock in the morning, or, some people get up at bloody 5 in the morning, go for a run, have a shower, have breakfast, do loads of work, and I've only just woken up at bloody, 11 o'clock or whatever. But what I tend to do is, after, obviously, advice I've heard online and from yourself, is sort of structure my day around those hours that I am awake. So if I wake up at 11, I'll be doing at 11 what, like the guy I just said who's woken up at 5, I'll be doing what he's doing at 5, but I'll just be doing it at 11. And then when he's asleep at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening, I will still be awake doing the things that he's done previously, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the same day, it's just delayed or put forward a couple of hours, basically, or a few hours. Like I said to you, it's not about when you're awake. It's like if your most productive time, which for you, based on what you've told me, it is let's say your most productive time is 6 p.m. till 2 in the morning, for example. Then obviously you want to be doing your most important work between those times. Why would you not, basically?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I'll get up in the sort of late morning, maybe like 11 o'clock. I aim to get up around between 9 and 10, but sometimes it just doesn't happen, if I'm honest. And then I'll get up, I'll have my breakfast, have a shower, sort of get myself freshened up, essentially. Sometimes I'll have a coffee, although it doesn't always give me the effect that I want for some reason or another. And then I'll sort of try and crack on with my work, really. Like at the moment, I'll crack on with my uni work. So actually, I'll take it back a bit first. So the night before, or at the start of the week, I'll go on my notes app on the iPhone, and I'll sort of get a list written out for each day. I'll be like Monday, and then I'll do a little checklist of things I want to get done. Tuesday, little checklist of what I want to get done, and so, like for all the days in the week. And then sort of, for me, that's what makes me get more done, because I'll look at the list and I'll be like, all right, I need to get this done before the end of the day, and that motivates me to get it done. I'm a very what's the word? I guess you could use the word OCD, but it's just like a completionist. You know what I mean? Like a perfectionist. I want to get it all complete. I want to get all those checklists, like all the little boxes ticked, sort of thing. So for me, that's like a massive, weird motivational thing where I'm like, I've got to get that box filled, so I'm going to get all this work done, no matter how long it takes me. But then obviously, with taking breaks in between, like I'll have a 15, 20-minute break maybe, sometimes longer if necessary, if I've been working for a bit longer. And then I'll come back into it again and keep going. until it gets later on. I don't know, like 10 o'clock maybe, maybe a bit earlier, around sort of dinner time. Like for me, I'll take a step back and be like, right, I'm just going to chill out and do, do a bit of watching films or reading or, a bit of socializing with my housemates. Because I think for me, like we said earlier, that's when the ideas come to you that you can apply when you're working during the day. So, yeah.
No, I've definitely learnt the value very recently, actually, of having more time not working to then reconfigure your thoughts. Because if you have breaks and have time off work, you can work more focused and more intensely when you actually are. I used to just be a big believer of, right, I'm going to work a 7 or 8 hour block with no breaks at all. And yes, it looks like great, I got a lot done in those 8 hours, but it's taken me 8 hours, whereas now I can achieve the exact same thing in 3 because I'm taking breaks and keeping my mind fresh through the day. So it's definitely a good way of doing it. Do you try and break up your tasks that you have to get done each day into different types of tasks, or do you just order it on importance? Or
So I tried to order it in importance. So I did read a book. I think it was in this book. What is it? Is it the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Or
I've heard
I think that's the
I've never
title.
read it.
Yeah. So in that book, they sort of detail about this way of doing a checklist, but not doing it in the traditional way. So you'll have sort of do a little cross. So you've got like 4 boxes, like
Is
top,
it the Eisenhower
left,
matrix?
top, right, bottom, left, right. I can't remember what the name is, if I'm honest, but it could be. So in the top left, you'll have, say, like urgent stuff. Okay, here we go. Screen share.
We got screen share going.
Pull the trick out of the book. Yeah. This is. I think it was phrased a little bit differently, but that is essentially the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Would you want to talk through it then while you were on a roll?
So in the top left, obviously you can see do, which is like do it now, which I think from memory, the way that he said is you want to keep things out of that box really. But if you have something, say work that's in for tomorrow, then obviously that's going to be in the urgent box, or something that you need to do right now. That's just literally right now. You need to get it done. Mm-hmm. The second box is the one on the top right, decide. So you essentially, it's sort of long-term stuff that you want to work towards and get done, but it's not urgent. Like you're not going to die if you don't do it right now, sort of thing. So that I'm trying to think of an example. So I guess
for me important and not urgent. For me, that's like self-development. I use that to like brush up on my skills and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I think for this, I'd say like for me, and then not urgent but important would be that like investing and stuff like that, and long-term goals essentially, stuff that you want to build. Your stuff. I'm not sure. I was going to say your business would probably be in there as well, but it's a weird one because obviously it is urgent. You want to get it done, like right now, but it's not going to fall apart if you don't do it for one day, I guess. But
no, short of like paid client work, other than like that, like content. At the end of the day, if it doesn't get done, it's not my business isn't going to collapse. It's just not going to grow, basically. So the only thing that would really be essentially that would really have to be in the important urgent section for me personally would be paid client work that has a specific deadline that I need to work to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100% then. But then obviously not important urgent for me would be sort of my leisure stuff. So I guess on like the PlayStation, I play a fair bit of PlayStation, and like computer games and films and stuff like that. Obviously not majorly important, but for me, it still it helps my creative process. But obviously, it's not furthering my business or anything like that. It's not furthering the things in the blue box, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the sort of priority list sort of thing. And then obviously the fourth box is, you know, stuff you need to get rid of ASAP.
Yeah. It's just not
stuff
worth
that's
the
not.
time.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I've not read, like I say, I've not read the book. I actually heard that from one of my mentors, and he basically talked about this. And like I say, he took more of a stance of, for example, the not important and urgent stuff was kind of your leisure time, your wind down time, like spending time with your family, you know, walking the dog if you've got a dog. Whereas here it talks more about delegating, so that would be stuff like, I don't know, like admin stuff that you don't need to do in terms of work anyway.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like I always use it as more of just right, that's my leisure time, that's when I'm gonna chill, wind down, not work, rather than delegating it. So because you can't really delegate your leisure time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That looks more like a, you know, like a running a business sort of thing rather than a
exactly
personal sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so,
it's definitely. I was going to say it's definitely factored into my my sort of planning process over the past year, and into getting more stuff done. Basically, prioritizing.
Yeah, no, I can recommend it as well. I've used that for a little while, and it's helped me organise work, and it makes sure that what needs to get done gets done. Because if you, like for me, when I was getting up at 7:30, I would always have a productivity dip at like 2-3 p.m. And after that, my work quality just wasn't as good. So it means that everything that needs to get done that day to a high quality can get done before I then have that productivity dip. And then after that, if I'm slightly less productive or slightly less creative, it's not the end of the world because it's not as needed.
I think that's a massive thing, isn't it? You can't just look online and, you know, type in what's the best way to structure my day, because everybody has a personalized structure that works for them. Like, not everyone's going to have a dip around 2 o'clock if they get up at 7. But for you, that's the perfect way to work. That works perfectly for you. But you know, people can't just try and copy what you're doing and get the same results. Everyone needs to think for themselves and
100%,
and apply it in their own way.
Exactly. Like find a wake up time that's most productive for you. So if if your most productive time to wake up is 11 a.m., 10 a.m., whatever it is, that's not a problem. Just work work really hard when you're awake, basically. If my most productive wake up time is 7, or even if I tried waking up at 4, which I'm not doing, but if I was to wake up at 4, that could be my most productive time. So it's I've seen people with wake up at 4 and they're most productive. I've seen people wake up at like 2 p.m. And they just go to sleep at like 4 in the morning or 6 in the morning or something ridiculous. And then also with like the structure of work, some people actually work better by blocking like big blocks of work and just working non-stop without breaks, whereas other people work better by doing an hour of work, having a 10-minute break and structuring it like that. So I'm at the point now where I'm testing it. Like until the start of this week, I was working, like I said, like 8-hour blocks, top like minimum kind of thing. Whereas now I'm doing sort of a few blocks of 2 or 3 hours and then structuring it with breaks in between, and I'm finding that I'm able to work much smarter and get more done in less than half of the time.
I'm the same. I think like when before I would sort of get into like that work mode where you're like, right, I need to get everything done. I'm going to get it. I'm going to sit here in this chair until it's done, and I'm not moving until it's done. And you'd sort of do that for a few days or even a few weeks, and then by the end of it, you're sort of left a bit burnt out because you're like, I don't know, you don't have that same spark you did when you started doing that. And I feel like it is like, obviously, like you're changing your ways now, and so am I. It's definitely more beneficial in the long run to take breaks, even as hard as it might be to think, oh, you know, I know I'm on a really good roll right now, but I need to just step back and, you know, and let the world do its thing. I guess, I don't know.
If you take the step back and take the time off, I think it's easier to stay on that role, or get back into that role again. So like, okay, fine, maybe you take an hour off, but then after that hour, you'll be able to just come in it fresh again. Whereas if you keep working, you're just slowly going to be going down and down and down. And like you say, that's true for the entire week as well. Like the start of the week, if you're working, let's say 16 hours solid, like some entrepreneurs do. If you work, like for most people, if you work that every single day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, you'll probably be all right. By Wednesday, you'll be like, oh, have I got any more days of this? Because I know, because I've experienced this. Then you get to Thursday and you're like, I really can't be bothered. And Friday, most of the time, I would just be like, right, it's what time is it? Oh, it's 10 a.m. Yeah, I'm knackered. I'm taking the day off. And it's like, well.
Yeah, I think something I just thought of as well is it does help you get into a good habit of sort of, obviously, like when you're in break mode, sometimes I guess, I don't know if you get the same, but sometimes I'll just feel like I'm so invested into this break mode that I'm in now that I find it difficult to come out of that break mode and go back into work mode. But I feel like if you're doing that constantly and taking those 20-minute breaks every hour or two, then you're sort of getting it in your head, like practicing, like muscle memory, like, okay, I'm coming out of break mode now, I'm going into work mode again. And the more you do it, like every day, if you do that 5 or 6 times a day, within a month or so, you're going to be like able to switch those modes on and off.
Exactly.
Like easily.
It's just training those muscles, getting them working, like getting yourself into that rhythm. And once you're in that rhythm, you can't really get out of it. Like that's not a bad thing by any means. It's a good thing. And one thing that I've also learned is, have you ever heard of state control?
I've heard of it in psychology. I'm pretty sure it was psychology I learned about it. Yeah, vaguely.
So in like its simplest form, it's essentially using like external stimulus to basically influence your mindset and your state. So, for example, one really common and easy way to do it is listen to the same song on repeat over and over and over while you work. And then if you do that every single day for, I think it's like 20 days to a month, I can't remember the exact like science on it. But if you do that, then you can play that song, and anytime you play that song, you will get into a work state. It's the same reason why if you work in your bedroom or in the same room where you sleep, you'll find that you get tired quite easily. Because you associate that room with sleep. So
I think that is definitely something I want to apply in the future when I've got my own house or flat or basically somewhere where I can go and work in a different room, because I feel like it's difficult in a house with your mates, because it's like you can't really. I mean, I could go and work downstairs, but then you've got more chance of someone walking in and then you end up in a conversation, and but I definitely do feel that when you got your bed behind you and you just sort of turn around and you're like, oh, I could be in that right now. Literally. So yeah, definitely going forward, I want to have my own workroom, and I can already picture it now, like a lovely little studio with like fancy lights and all that. I'm very minimalistic, so I'd have like a very sort of clean looking setup, and that's my dream at the moment. I think working towards that.
Yeah, that sounds really good then. So that's your like future plan, or part of your future plan too. You're obviously going to get your own house eventually and have that kind of workspace.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you be interested in getting your own studio, as in like buying a literal studio building?
As in to sort of rent it out or to buy one myself?
I don't know. Like, well, I mean, obviously, I mean, it makes it sound like I'm selling one. I'm not, but no, like, just I don't know. Like, I mean, just a separate studio building, whether you rent it or buy it. Just I don't know, just a studio to call it yourself. And then you could have, like Yewman Edits or Yewman Productions or something running out of that, like an office building.
I think if money wasn't an issue, I'd 100% think it would help the creative process, and having somewhere to go that's not just a mental space to go to, but like a physical space to go to, where you get there and you're like, right, this is work mode now, and your whole body can tell you that this atmosphere is work mode now. Whereas like in the room at the moment where I've got my PS5 on the desk, got my computer like in front of me, which I do work on obviously, but it's got games on there as well, and it's a bit, it's you have to sort of mentally block them out, don't you? Whereas if you're in a studio, they're not there, so you don't have to have that thought process.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I'm experiencing
So yeah,
something
I'd
similar.
definitely say.
With my PC, like I obviously have games on my PC, and I'm in. The problem is, right, I can move out of my bedroom to do work because I'm in a 2-bed flat, and M has one room. I have this room, so I can work away from the bedroom where I work, where I sleep. Sorry, but I am right now. I'm in the exact same position as when I game. I'm sitting at the same desk, looking at the same screen with the same computer as when I spend my evenings gaming. So it's got a problem. But it sounds good. Like I would love to be able to walk around and see your studio at some point. That sounds really good. That'd be in the future.
Oh yeah.
We'll be seeing some videos of you touring your studio.
Oh yeah, that's one day. Imagine I can just see it now, but I'm assuming that is where you want to go for as well, isn't it? Like a studio sort of area building.
I've had a vision of my future plan basically is I want to not just have Regal Marketing. I want to build a bunch of different businesses under in different industries, and then have it under the overall brand of Regal. And I've had a vision. I don't know how well it would work practically or realistically, but I can just imagine a big office space, and on the 4 corners of this office space you have the different branches of Regal, and then you've just got a big communal pool of the Regal team. Again, I don't know how practical that would be. It would probably
in my head. Have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah,
or
exactly
at least,
like that.
in my head, I'm picturing you at the front, like, I'm not fucking leaving.
Exactly. Yeah, just that's kind of what I imagine. But whether it practically works and whether I can actually do it is a completely different story. But I suppose that's one of the perks of dating an architect. So.
Exactly, you've got all the seeds in place there, haven't you? Like,
exactly.
But yeah, definitely. I think it's good to have goals to work towards, and don't let people tell you that your goals are stupid or they're too ambitious.
Exactly,
You can't be too ambitious.
No.
That's the main thing. Like the amount of stories you hear on podcasts and stuff like that of people that have been successful, and they'll talk about when they were younger and people that ridiculed them and told them that, what are you doing? You're making a massive mistake. Whereas, it's just, why take advice from people that aren't where you want to be? That's the way I look at it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I saw a quote on Instagram the other day, and it was, don't let somebody with a 40k a year salary talk you out of your £1 million dream. And it's so true. Why would you let somebody who hasn't achieved that say that's or even tried to achieve that, tell you that it's not possible? They don't know. When have they tried to make $1 million, or tried to get their own studio, or tried to build their own office, or tried to build a business? They haven't. So why should you listen?
100%. I mean, I remember when about a year or 2 ago, I was in a very sort of gym mode sort of routine where I was really focusing on the gym for about 6 months, and it was great, I think. And I was cooking my own meals and sort of planning my meals for the week, and I was getting proper into it and doing everything that my sort of trainer at the gym was telling me to do. And the amount of people that had spoken to me during that time and said, oh no, you should be doing it this way, or you should be doing it that way, or you're doing that bit wrong. And I just look at them, and you can tell they hadn't been to the gym in bloody years.
Yeah.
So, or if at all. So it's in my head, I'm sort of thinking, I want to be respectful, but at the same time,
fuck off.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to listen. Obviously, I'm going to take in what you're saying, but I'm not going to change my routine based on someone who hasn't even done what I want to achieve. Exactly. I'm more inclined to listen to a personal trainer at the gym that you can see his bloody muscles are coming freaking in your face. So yeah, exactly. So you're more inclined to listen to people that are where you want to be, is what I'm trying to say, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. And especially with something like a trainer, if you're paying somebody for expertise, and they clearly, you have with a trainer, the physical evidence that they are just completely jacked. If you have all of those things, I don't understand the mentality of somebody trying to explain to you that you're doing it wrong, when somebody who has achieved what you want to achieve in the way you want to achieve it is telling you what to do. It makes no sense
exactly
whatsoever.
I think some people just like to feel like they know what they're on about when they don't. That's one of the main things I've learned in life. Like I obviously I feel I pride myself on stuff that I do know, but I'm not afraid to take a step back and go, you know what, this other guy's got the expertise in this area. He's actually learning this stuff, so I'm just going to agree with what he's saying because I don't have the knowledge to, come up with a counter argument.
Well, yeah, even if it's something that you know a lot about, like for example for you, it could be video editing. You know a lot about video editing. You know infinitely more than I know. That's for sure. But that doesn't mean there isn't room to learn and grow. Like, what I do all day, every day, pretty much is create content and create content ideas. I'm pretty good at it, but I can guarantee that there's somebody that's better, even if it's better at one specific element of it. Like, there's definitely people out there that are better. Like, there's always an opportunity to learn, whether you're a beginner, whether even if you're widely considered the best in the world. Like if I was labelled the best content creator in the world, there's still going to be somebody out there that's better specifically at Instagram content. There's still going to be somebody out there that's specifically better at LinkedIn content. Like you can't possibly be the best at everything. You can specialise at one thing, or you can be very good at a lot of things, but you can never specialise and be very good at every single thing, brilliant and the best at every single thing. So there's always room to learn, always room to grow.
100%. I think that's again like feeding into why people do need to obviously have leisure time as well as work time, because I feel like the realization that other people's work can come in leisure time. I don't know whether that's just because I'm in like a very sort of media industry where film and stuff like that is classed as leisure, but for me that's where I get my inspiration from. So in a way it is still leisure, but it's also helping me come up with ideas, if that makes sense. So you could argue that it is part of the work as well.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many places you can find inspiration and find other people's work that may not overall be as good as your stuff, but even if there's just one tiny little thing in there in one scene or something that you go, oh, that's actually pretty cool, I could use that.
Take that, compile it, and then yours will just become better. Like if you have 100 people who are better at you at one thing and take all of theirs, learn from all of them, and you put all of those 100 things together in yours is then going to improve massively overall.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Yeah, makes sense. And like you said, you can, even if somebody's not good at something, you can always learn what not to do from them.
100%, yeah.
And another thing I wanted to talk about is one of your, I don't know what it is, a crush or one of your heroes, Elon Musk. We've talked about him a couple of times. What is it you love about him so much? Why do you love him? Like, what makes you think, yes, Elon Musk is the greatest man on earth, or whatever you think?
So, I feel like all my life, I've searched. I'm gonna make this sound really dramatic now. All my life, I've searched for like some sort of mentor. I think to sort of feed off and strive to be like. And I've found through that process, I found a lot of people that inspire me, but I've never sort of come across anyone that inspires me as much as this guy, because even just hearing from where he began, he literally began backpacking through, I believe it was Canada to start with, because he came from South Africa and he was like, I want to go over to America and start kicking around over there because they're, it's the land of opportunity supposedly, isn't it? So he went over to there and obviously look at him now. He was backpacking across bloody Canada, and now he's the second richest person in the world. So if that doesn't inspire you to come from not wealthy beginnings to sort of get to that sort of stage, then I don't know what will, because he's like, honestly, you get so many people that complain on Twitter and the comments and stuff on the posts about him being the second richest person in the world. They're like, oh, so he shouldn't be the second person. He doesn't deserve it. He doesn't deserve this. He doesn't deserve that. Where you know, he's worked from probably where these people were from, like, and even in some cases, these people might be better off than where he was when he began. But you know, he's worked so hard. And something else actually about Tesla, you know, one of his companies. He's obviously got loads of companies at the moment, but one of his companies, Tesla, he was actually in 2008 about a few hours away from being bankrupt, like completely bankrupt. And he literally put all of his money into this company, even though he knew that it was probably going to fail. He thought he'd rather have a 1% chance of it working and then it failed than not try at all. And he was even at the point where he was having to borrow money from his friends to pay rent. Like he literally, that's how dedicated he was to his work. Like he didn't want this company to fail because that was his life. Like he didn't, you know, that was his goal. He wants to do all these things for the world. And a lot of people in that position would have just gone, nah, I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to take the money, go retire in a home somewhere. But instead, he's obviously dedicated himself. And he is known to sleep on the floors of his factories as well, which is just like insane for a CEO. You couldn't imagine Jeff Bezos doing that in a
No, 100%.
Amazon factory, could you?
Because when Elon Musk, like I said, when he was borrowing money for rent and stuff, he'd sold PayPal, and then he basically invested every single penny that he got from PayPal into, like, I think it Tesla, SpaceX, and the Boring Company. Yeah. So he obviously made a fair amount of money from PayPal. Before that, I think it was. I think one of his first biggest companies was a company called Zip2, which was essentially a very basic version of Google Maps. And then obviously he took the money he got from that into PayPal, which then did they get bought out by eBay? Yeah, I've just got it up here. That's what I was typing. So eBay purchased PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion. On that deal, Musk made $180 million, which he then invested into multiple different companies, basically.
Yeah, so that's what he did. Like he could have, at that point, any sane person would have just gone, all right then, I'm set for life. I'm going to go retire in the hills with a wife and dog, you know, and you know, have kids and stuff. But this guy thought, nah, fuck that. We're going to go and bloody spend all of this money to fulfill this dream he's obviously had since he was younger, which is going to completely change the world if you're looking forward. Like we're still, I know it sounds like these companies are starting to become massive, but we're still only on the brink or on the beginnings of sort of where these companies are going to be and how they're going to change our lives. So with Tesla, you've got electric cars, and it's not just electric cars. They're working with solar panels and stuff like that for people's houses to sort of take away from, you know, fossil fuels and stuff. And also in SpaceX, you've got sort of, he wants to sort of, I think he said before that SpaceX is going to be like a sort of plan B. So like Tesla is the plan A to fix climate change and we'll all live on Earth happily ever after. But SpaceX is plan B, where it's like, okay, the world's already fucked. There's no coming back from this. So we need to make sure that human life continues once this Earth is, you know, gone, because of climate change. So that SpaceX, he wants to get us all to, well, not all of us to colonize to Mars, but he wants to get like a few people over to Mars, start building some sort of infrastructure, you know, start building families over there. I don't know if you saw in the news recently, but I think he said something like, over on Mars, they're going to have their own laws. We're going to let them choose their own laws. It's going to be like primal times all over again.
Jesus.
So God knows what's going to go on over there. But I don't think he doesn't want, some people get confused. Like they're like, say, oh, I don't want to move over to Mars. Like he's not trying to get us to move to Mars. He's just trying to make sure that life continues on Mars.
So if we need to, you know, we can.
Well, yeah. So if we need to, we can. But at the same time, we might all die anyway, like on Earth. You know, who knows what sort of catastrophical incident might occur.
COVID.
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose COVID, but like something like that might occur, and then everyone might die. But if everyone died there and then, that would it. That'd be the end of the human race. There'd be nothing. But if some people are still living on Mars,
They're chilling.
bloody Adam and Eve Mark II kicking off around there, bloody doing their own thing. They could have like a family of bloody thousands, and that's where it could all kick off. So
Yeah.
True.
It's giving you the option more than saying, like, he's not indoctrinating you, trying to say you have to move to Mars. He's just saying, we're going to make it so you can if you want. Like, it's the possibility, not the forced choice.
Yeah. So another part of SpaceX is Starlink, which is starting to get running now. They've just put out some sort of beta testing thing, I think. But it's essentially going to be satellites all around the Earth to sort of give affordable Wi-Fi for everyone. So, I mean, I don't think it's that widely known, but I know that Wi-Fi isn't obviously available in a lot of places around the world. I think it was either 67% people around the world don't have it or 67% do. But either way, there's a lot of people that don't have it. So this would not only make it affordable for people around, like, in our country, so we wouldn't have to pay bloody BT and Sky like God knows how much money, and you might get a decent signal from your little house there. So, but it would mean the world would be a lot more connected. And I feel like if the world was a lot more connected, then there would potentially be less wars, I guess. I don't know. If people can just talk to each other and communicate and stop all of this unnecessary violence and stuff like that, I guess.
Wars come from just lack of communication or miscommunication. So if you've got more communication and it's clearer and it's, there's more of it, you know exactly what one another means. Yeah, cool. I can imagine that will stop or at least prevent many wars.
I mean, I'm not sure that's the main reason he's doing it, to prevent wars, but I just think that's one of the many side effects. Yeah, exactly. A happy benefit that you can get from it. So other companies he's got, obviously, like you mentioned, the Boring Company. I think it's more widely known for the retail flamethrower that he
not a flamethrower
he made. Yeah, they're not a flamethrower, legally not a flamethrower. But I don't know if a lot of people don't realize that company is not just about making a flamethrower and stuff like that. Its main reason is working towards making a hyperloop and just a regular loop underground, or not even just underground, like above ground. I think the hyperloop might be. But I know the loop. I'm not sure. Have you heard about what the loop is? Or?
Yeah, this is one of his projects that are really interesting me, actually, because I believe it was on, I can't remember if it was the Joe Rogan podcast or whether it was something different, but basically, I know he said, one day he was basically sitting in LA traffic and he was just like, well, I want to help this. So now he's kind of, I know initially when I first heard about it, he was just building one tunnel under LA, basically, which what to me was then the Hyperloop. But now he's kind of talked more about building multiple layers and multiple tiers of tunnels going down and down and down and down. And the thing that I find really interesting about it is, I think it was Joe Rogan made the point of, well, wouldn't it be easier to have flying cars to fix the traffic? And he's just like, well, no, basically, he just literally bluntly just go, no, tunnels are way easier.
Well, not only that, didn't he say that we're trying to create a less anxious society? And I feel like he said something like, "Oh, I feel like if you were walking outside and you knew that there were bloody millions of cars above you, that is not an anxiety, relief."
No, I saw somebody else in an interview with Elon Musk, actually, and they basically said, why don't they basically took it a step further, and they were complete fucking idiots, but anyway, they basically said, why don't we just not have flying cars? Why don't we, to stop overpopulation in cities, why don't we have a two-tiered city? And so Elon
Yeah.
was then like, well, yeah, you could, suppose you could in theory have an underground city, but then you would have a lot less sunlight and it wouldn't be good for you. And they were like, no, why don't we just make a flying city? Why don't you just have buildings that fly? I'm like, what if there's a power cut? And that's the point he made. He was like, what if they have a power cut, and then the entire top layer, like level of that city, just falls on the bottom and then just kills everyone? What then?
To be honest, it's weird. Like that same thing is like an actual thing in one of the games that I've played before in like the story. It's Final Fantasy VII. You probably haven't played it, but it's like you've got this massive floating sort of area at the top, and there's no sunlight in the city underneath.
Yeah.
And what actually ended up happening was you'd have all like the poverty-stricken people on the bottom layer, and then on top you literally have it's like a physical representation of the pyramid scheme, where everyone at the top is literally just chilling, sipping wine on the top shelf. So yeah, so I feel like you wouldn't want the potential of that sort of stuff happening, really. Either.
No, exactly. I saw a film kind of similar to that. It's actually a Spanish film, and I can't actually remember what the name of it is. I'll try and find it while you're talking about something. But basically, it's a film where they're basically in a prison, two people in a cell, and then they have at the very top they make a banquet, and it comes down this lift, and it goes down the tiers and stops very temporarily. There's a limited amount of food on this thing, so then it'll go down all these floors, and when you get to like floor 100 on the way down, there's just no food left, so everybody on the bottom starves. But there is actually enough food on the banquet in the beginning to feed everyone. It's only because of the greed of the people above that they are then starving. And I thought it was quite a cool film, to be honest. Like,
I like films that play on like philosophy and stuff like that. You know, get you thinking really.
Exactly.
About how the world's run.
It's called The Platform. That's probably quite a self-explanatory title.
Yeah, The Platform. I'll have to give it a look then. Did you say it's Spanish?
Yeah, it's Spanish, but it has English voiceovers because it's on Netflix.
Oh, that's how I watched Money Heist as well. So I'm used to that sort of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. There's a big trend now of like foreign films being brought. I say foreign to England films, or like English films being brought over to like Netflix. And then obviously having English voiceovers. And I think it's just because the storylines are better, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably because like all of the storylines in our culture has been sort of rinsed and repeated to the point where it's all just the same stuff now. So we sort of want to have newer ideas, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just in Money. Sorry.
No, go
on. I was saying in Money Heist, it's all set in Spain. And it's, to me, watching it, one of the things I loved about it was just seeing the Spanish culture and how they live life, and you know, just the little tiny details that, not even just the main story, just the details.
The true Spanish culture, not the like crap you see in like Fast and Furious, and because like English films or American films, they just don't capture the essence of that country well. Whereas if you have a Spanish film, you can bet you're gonna get the Spanish like experience through it.
Oh, I love Spain, honestly. I think that's definitely a language I'd love to learn. If I had to learn any language, it would be Spanish as a second language. Yeah, no, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, well, you can do it, so why don't you do it?
Go for it. Learn Spanish. I expect to see you speaking Spanish.
To be fair, I did start trying. Like, my sister's sort of started secondary school in the past couple of years, so when she started getting her like Spanish dictionaries home, I sort of picked them up, and I'd be learning more Spanish than she would be, and she's bloody studying it. So I don't know.
See, that's one thing I miss about secondary school is like the possibility to easily learn a language, because like, you know, we're being taught French, German, Latin, even to a degree. And like at the time, I was like, oh, French, can't be bothered with French, can't be bothered with German. But like now, like at one point we were taught Mandarin, and at the time we basically just not bullied the teacher, but just laughed at the teacher and just didn't really care. But now, if I was given the opportunity to learn Mandarin from an actual Mandarin speaker, I'd be like, yeah, right, let's go, 100%.
Yeah, it's weird how the world works like that, isn't it? you don't appreciate it till it's not there anymore. That's something you have to be wary of, I think, in life, isn't it? Going forward, try and appreciate stuff while it's still there.
100%. So
Yeah.
we've talked SpaceX, we've talked a bit about Tesla, we talked about Hyperloop and Boring Company. The other thing that I wanted to kind of talk about that really interests me, especially as like an AI student, is Neuralink.
Yeah. Do you know much about it already, or?
I know the very basic level of it, but I can guarantee you know more than me. I don't really keep up with it, so go ahead.
So I think it's still. I mean, I say it's very early on, but they have achieved so much already. But it is still in this sort of way of looking at it. It is quite early on in its process. They're still bringing in all the smartest people from around the world to come and work on it. But what it's going to do is essentially, I don't know if you've seen what it looks like, but it's like a coin-shaped hole will be sort of drilled into your skull, like on the top of your head, and then a machine will implant this like chip sort of thing into your brain, and then obviously it will, the hole in your head won't just be left there open; it will be filled back up again and all that. But then it's the things it's going to cure is just immense. Like not just like the AI side. I know you'll be thinking, yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it. But with AI, I know you'll be thinking like, oh yeah, we're going to be bloody robots and the stuff that we're going to be able to do is great. But without even looking at the potential optional benefits, the things it could cure, like I'll list off a few, are dementia, hearing loss, and like blindness, which I thought was like mad. Like what's a chip in your brain got to do with eyes? Like, I'm not a scientist. I don't know how that works, but apparently that's one thing it can cure. And spinal issues. So if you've got issues with like the way your body reacts to certain like stances and all that, that could be corrected through the brain, because essentially what it does is sort of gives your brain little pulses at the right time, like to sort of stimulate it and make your brain think that you can do certain things or something. As you can tell, I'm not explaining it as a scientist in a lot of detail. Like I can't really explain it.
You're explaining the fundamental concept. Like it makes sense. So it's basically just biohacking almost.
Yeah. So they're the sort of things it can cure, and there are a whole other list that you can look through, and it could potentially cure things like MS, I guess, like Parkinson's and stuff like that. So many different diseases could be cured. Probably not stuff like cancer and that, obviously, because that's a very different thing. That's based on things growing inside you, isn't it? But
you could implant some sort of like nanobots to then like destroy that cancerous tumor, though. Like that could be something that could be implanted into the chip.
Yeah, like I said, like I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the full applications of how these things would work. But I just know what has been listed is confirmed, and they have done human trials on some people, like people that have volunteered. Obviously, I haven't just ripped people out and gone, let me just stick this in your head. But they've got it working consistently on pigs. I know they've tested it on pigs. They showed that at their last demonstration. Because I think, isn't it, pigs are like the closest DNA match to humans or something?
I don't think they're the closest DNA match. I think they're the closest DNA match of a living creature. Because I'm pretty sure like bananas are the closest DNA match to us or something.
Oh, I remember that actually. I remember reading about that. I'm not sure we could test it on bananas though.
Oh well, no. Obviously, it's chimps actually, but I don't think you can experiment on chimps.
No, is there like some sort of law against that then, or?
I think so. Yeah, I'll have a look.
Okay, but other things that it can do, like other less sort of curing things and more sort of advancing everyday life, is literally improve memory. So it could literally store memory like your phone stores photos. So it's essentially like a photographic memory. Like you wouldn't ever have to worry about forgetting stuff, because it's like a little like on a computer, if you save your work,
You
that's
don't
saved.
forget
Then
it.
you don't. It doesn't forget it. It's just there. Um. So, have you found anything?
I believe it's something to basically do. It's not actually to do with laws. It's basically just to do with some. So like we share. This is probably wrong because I'm literally skim reading an article, but basically,
Yeah.
while we share 99% of DNA with chimpanzees, that 1% is like it basically leads to like loads of different differences, especially with like medicines. So that's why it's
Yeah.
kind of stopped. Not necessarily just because it's kind of outlawed in some like states in America, but because it's just not as reliable.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. You want it to sort of be as close a match as possible, I suppose, for reliability reasons. But something else he's like Elon Musk has talked about with Neuralink is the fact that to do with cyborgs, a lot of people think, oh no, I don't want to become like a cyborg or like some sort of robot that could be controlled and stuff like that.
Mm.
But I don't know if I think he mentioned it in a podcast, but I'm not sure if you'd heard it or not. But he says we're already cyborgs.
Mm-hmm.
Like we already have these functions in our hand
Yeah.
on one of these.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, exactly. It's just not in our brain, but it may as well be because we'd be able to do the same things on this chip that we can do on our phone.
Mm.
It's just it would be inside us.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like he's talked about things you can do, like sending messages on your phone. You'd have to like spend ages typing it out and stuff like that, or sending a video to someone. With Neuralink, you'd be able to sort of think about that person, think about a thought, and then it'll send it to them.
Mm.
And it's like, you'd be so much more productive. You wouldn't be wasting your time typing out all these things.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Imagine how much more productive I could be to use me as an example. Like if it takes me, let's say, half an hour of actual typing to write out an article, if I can just think of an article and it types out while I'm doing the dishes, while I'm hoovering, while I'm sitting and chilling, doing whatever, you could get so much more done. It would be absolutely ridiculous. Like you can't even begin to comprehend it. And I'm a big fan of cybernetic enhancement. Like if that's the route we're going down, I'm all for it. The only thing that I would be concerned about, and I know there would be measures in place against this, but hacking, like every single thing that has these like hacking countermeasures in has been hacked. Like most things have been hacked at some point.
Oh yeah.
And I know that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get hacked and become like some sort of Terminator and go around killing everyone, but you could, for example, one big concern of mine is if you've got the Neuralink and it's able to change your mood to like make you want to do things more or alter it in that way. Could somebody not hack that and make it alter it in a negative way? Like you could alter your mood in a negative way, so it could make somebody depressed, or make somebody feel really anxious, or make them feel really angry.
Well, I feel like you'd know more about this than me because it's your sort of area. Because I've obviously heard what Elon's had to say about it, and obviously he's not going to go, oh yeah, well to be fair, you could potentially get hacked and then turn into some sort of zombie, but he wouldn't ever come out and say that. So I guess you'd have more of an understanding of this sort of thing and how reliable it is, like to sort of put in those countermeasures and stuff.
See, talking from I'm by no means on Elon Musk's level, but the way I would do it, or the way it could be secured, is if it runs its own network, so it doesn't connect to things, and therefore it can't be hacked remotely. It could only then, in theory, be hacked if somebody was to plug it into your head and fuck about with it, which is obviously very difficult, if not near impossible to do. So that's the only way I could think of doing it. But again, I've not got an extensive knowledge of networks. But in my head, if you're able to send messages from that, then by default it's connected to some sort of network. And even if the Neuralink is secure, you've still then got the issues of the network you connect to not being secure, and it's like there's so many holes that could be found. That said, as well,
Yeah.
if you've got Elon Musk with Starlink, if everybody runs on Elon Musk's Wi-Fi network, you can then you can then ensure a degree of security that you wouldn't be able to if you have BT and Virgin and Sky and all these different providers. So if Elon Musk's vision of Starlink and Neuralink all become reality and you have the full network and everybody's connected to it that has the Neuralink, I could see that working. That would definitely at least go a long way to fixing the issue of security.
I think that's a good point about like sort of saying about how they could be connected and like these companies can sort of work together. Because I think in Elon's mind, I feel like he's got this massive plan, and all these different companies, while they're all doing separate, different things, they are in reality like they're all working towards the same goal. So like they're all going to be sort of useful to each other and I feel like that's one of the reasons why these companies are so worth sort of investing your thought processes into and your time into looking at, because they all have the benefit of using each other's research and building themselves up without actually having to do anything, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like that, they're all kind of working together to achieve. It all fits together almost like Lego or something. Like all of these are different pieces. Pardon me. To make a better reality. That's kind of how I'm seeing it, and the kind of thing that's kind of becoming more apparent. Like when you watch like a Joe Rogan podcast with him on, or just an interview, or when he gives like a conference somewhere. So.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I'm definitely excited to see what he produces next, because he has very much got a mindset of, I see a problem, I'm gonna like create a solution for it and roll it out within a year. So it's there are so many problems within society that you just don't like what is he gonna work on next, because he's got done traffic. Could it be poverty? Could it be housing? Housing would be quite an interesting one to see what Elon Musk's take on it was.
I think that's probably one of the most inspiring things about him for me, is the fact that he looks at an issue and he's like, all right then, I'm not going to moan about it. I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix it. Like, if you look on his Twitter, like, responses and stuff, people will message him on Twitter saying, oh, this is a bit annoying, or this would be cool. Can you add this to my Tesla? And he'll reply going, yeah, all right, we'll add it this week. Or like, yeah, we'll get that sorted. Like, and they're like, oh yeah, you could add this game to the Tesla or something, or you could add this mode to the Tesla, and he'll go, oh yeah, well, we can get that sorted for you. And it's just
cool
like,
idea, done.
What? Like, yeah, exactly. Like instantly, he's like, what? Yeah. So I've learned over the years to sort of try and not completely block out these people that complain about stuff and not do anything about them, but sort of just take a step back and be like, right, realistically, this person could do something about this rather than sit there and moan about it.
I think the way I kind of do it, because I'm very much the same, is have, let's say you've got this person and they complain, give them the solution, like to a specific problem they're having. Like literally just lay out a solution to them that you can help them with. And if they don't act on it, then they're not the sort of person who's gonna try and take action no matter what. So at that point you then just cut them out, or if you can't cut them out because they're family or something, you just put your contact time to a minimum, just so it doesn't then begin to influence you and your behaviour. And I know it's not nice to just be like, right, well, I'm cutting you out now, but at the end of the day, you want to be around people that, fair enough, some people may just not know what the solution is, but if you give them the solution to those people, then they take action, they fix that problem. Whereas there are people in the world that you could give them an super easy solution. All they've got to do is, I don't know, pay £5 or something, and then they get all of their problems fixed, but they still won't do it. So that those people, I think, and have learned from experience, just stay away from them as much as possible, because it's only going to drag you and slow you.
I think, I definitely think so, but I think also like you don't always necessarily have to cut them out. In my opinion, I think you can sort of look at it from a stance of, oh, well, I just won't waste my breath trying to help them with stuff. Like I can still, you know, still talk to them and stuff. I just don't. If they've got a problem, just sort of be like, oh yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Like
Okay,
don't sit there and try and use your mental effort. Like don't waste your breath saying, oh yeah, you could do this, you could do that, because you just know that they're not going to listen to you.
No, that
So
does make sense
just
then, I suppose. Just understand what
just
that friend is for, almost. Like, what is their purpose as such?
yeah, like I feel like like I think we've had this discussion before, but like everyone has different goals of where they want to be in life. Not everyone wants to be like a successful business person or a successful. Some people are just happy, like chilling, I guess, where they are or like in the local area and just
Yeah,
getting
that's
a
fine.
job and settling down and having a life. So I think it's about sort of, for me, it's about like respecting where that person wants to be, letting them do their own thing, as long as it doesn't affect where you want to get to. Don't let it seep into your life. If it is seeping into your life, that's when you need to take a step back and be like, I need to rethink how much time I'm spending with this person, or
Yeah.
something like that.
See, yeah, no, that's why I tend to cut them out, because I'm very much a all or nothing type of person. So
Yeah,
if I'm your friend, like I will be basically available 24/7. Like, we'll be talking, not every day, like, but I'll be talking and sharing ideas with you and stuff. Um,
yeah,
or I'm the complete opposite and like, no, we're done. Like, no, we don't talk at all. With there are a few
yeah.
exceptions, obviously, but so that's why for me it's a
Oh yeah,
case of I'm either going to end up spending a lot of my time around you and being influenced by you, or I'm going to spend next to zero around my time around you. So it's just kind of, that's one place I should probably try and find some balance. To be fair, that's where I need to find
yeah.
balance in
Well,
life.
I mean, at the moment it's work. At the moment, I think it's clearly working for you. You're getting your sort of stuff done and it's successfully and stuff like that. So I'd just say keep going with what's working at the moment. But if you do find yourself in a space where you're like, not feeling as like motivated or something like that, I think in times like those, it really makes you appreciate the sort of the people around you that might not want the same things as you,
But they have that
but
support for you.
they will always be there. I've got mates that will always be there for me, and I know that they don't want the same things in life that I want, but it's just knowing that they'll be there for me, like gains respect from me, and it's just like I'll always be there for them if they really, really desperately need it.
Yeah.
Like obviously minor things, like we've said, like if they're complaining about something little, then I won't, I'm not going to waste my time sort of trying to help them if they're not going to listen. But if they were in like a life or death situation, I'd be there and like,
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
that sort of thing.
That
So
support network is so invaluable. It's so valuable. Sorry. And I think one thing I've noticed as well is, yeah, you're completely right. People don't have to want the same things as you. I've got friends that want to run businesses and become millionaires. I've got friends that just want to literally, like say, work a 9 to 5, settle down, have an easy life, spend their time doing what they want to do outside of that 9 to 5. Both are completely fine. There's nothing wrong with either. But I find that people who support what you want to do, even if it isn't the same as them, those sort of people are generally the sort of people that are either problem solvers or they are willing to solve a problem if they are given a solution. It's obviously not always true, but a lot of my friends that maybe don't want to run a business, even though they don't want to run a business, they still support what I want to do, and at the same time they are also very much, if I tell them a solution to their problem and they know that I know what I'm talking about whatever it is, then they're likely to act on it. So I'm kind of noticing that trend, that correlation between those types of people. Again, not always true. There are plenty of people that just don't want to solve a problem.
oh, there's always exceptions. Yeah.
Exactly. There are entrepreneurs that are like, oh yeah, I want to go out and run £1 million business by next year, and they just don't want to solve any problems, and it's like,
you're not going to get there, are you?
no, he's just like, oh, you've got this problem, this problem, and this problem. What are you going to do? Oh, I'll put it off till tomorrow and have a beer. It's like, right, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's being
it's
aspirational, and then there's that.
aspiration and work ethic, or I said a really good quote the other day of this. I've forgotten what it was now. That's so annoying. But basically, like the ambition and the actual drive. Ambition is different to drive. That's what I said. And like ambition,
Mm,
that's all about. You can want a million and one different things, but the drive is what you actually need to make it happen. And you can have drive without ambition as well. And that's the kind of people that just work really hard, but they work towards the wrong things, basically. And don't
yeah,
really know, they put a lot of energy in, but it's sideways rather than forward. Um, and then you've got the people that most people I would say are, which is ambition, but no drive to get them there. That's what I would call like the entrepreneur sort of type. So they talk about, oh yeah, I'm going to run £1 million
mm,
business. I'm going to own 10 Lamborghinis. But then like when you say to them, right, are you going to work 16 hours a day every single day for the next year to get to like a billionaire kind of status, they're just like, no, I'm gonna not. I don't want to work on
yeah,
business. I just want the end result, and you should train yourself to love the journey
mm,
more than the end result.
that's it. So I think in general, like society at the moment is a very sort of what's the words? Like
Materialistic.
people want everything for nothing. Like they want a
Oh,
quick reward for doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So people. Well, no. So yeah, people want. I've heard the phrase before. I just can't.
instant gratification.
It's gone. It's not there. Yes, that's the one. Yeah, they want instant gratification for stuff, and I feel like you can't do that. Like tying back into my investing stuff, I know for a fact that my investing at the moment isn't about like instant gratification. At the moment, I start thinking I need like this money by next week, or this hopefully like within a month I'm going to get more money. It's not. You need to think long term. You need to think, oh, if I sort of let this seed grow over time, like in the next few years, then then I'll get to where I want to be. And it's the same with your business. Like you can't think, oh, if I work for 24 hours today, tomorrow I'll be bloody, I'll be earning 10 grand a week. Like it's not that doesn't work. That's not a thing.
Mm.
You have to remember that all your work that you're putting in is towards a goal that you will reach later on. Like you're not going to reach it straight away.
Mm.
And some people get knocked down by that first hurdle. They're like, well, I worked all week this week and I'm not seeing any progress, so I'm clearly just not good enough. Well,
Mm.
that's not the case.
No, you just need to keep going, keep pushing. Like business, well, just success in general is very much you work all the time. You work harder than you've ever worked in your life and get absolutely fuck all for it, and then one day it shifts, and then you start getting more value
Yeah,
back than what you're actually working, and then it just completely shifts around.
definitely, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, no, like you say, a lot of people they just
Mm,
they have like 1 week and then they're like, yeah, why aren't I? Like I see it a lot on Instagram. Like people are like, oh, I've posted content every day for a week. Why aren't I hitting 10,000 followers yet? It's like, are you joking? Post content every single day consistently for 3 months, and then maybe you'll get there. Maybe if you're
mm.
posting valuable content, but 1 week is fuck all. It means absolutely nothing.
I think you don't realize that until you go out there and do it yourself, which
Mm.
is why practical experience is so important because it's not even just the learning the skills, it's just about doing the practical stuff, realizing what is realistic, how difficult it really is to gain these things, and getting yourself into that mindset of, okay, I'm not going to get a lot out of this for a long time, so I just need to keep myself grounded and not go around telling everyone I'll be a billionaire next week.
Yeah, exactly. It's being mindful of what's physically possible and understanding the realities of it, but also having that ambition to, I think it's Dan Pena that says like you should set goals that you can't even possibly hope to achieve in your lifetime. Like
Mm,
because at that point you're realistic about what you can actually achieve in your life, but at the same time you've set those goals and you're going to work towards those goals, And sure, you know you won't achieve those goals, but you're going to get somewhere along the way. So that's kind of how I like
Yeah.
to set my goals as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, set big ambitious goals, but understand that it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Speaking of that, what would you say your goal or your ideal daily life would be in 20 years' time?
So, 20 years' time. So, so as I kind of touched on, I want to have multiple different businesses in different industries under the Regal brand. So that in 20 years' time, I would have, probably 3 or 4, maybe even 5 different businesses built up and structured under the Regal brand and have that in place.
Mm.
And I basically, like I say, I want to get it to that. In 20 years, I want to get to the point where I can basically spend all of my time doing what I want. Which would be stuff like this, basically, like coming on, just chatting with people pretty much all day, every day. Like that would be kind of what I like doing. So yeah, what was you gonna ask? Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say so I was gonna like try and put yourself in that sort of situation. Like you wake up in the morning, like whatever time you wake up.
Yeah.
In 20 years' time, what's the first thing that goes through your head? Like where are you going to be going? What are you going to be doing?
Well, like I say, it basically would be kind of what, it would obviously be what I'm focusing on at that point, which I would like to be at that point. I'd like the idea of kind of being like Elon Musk, like at the forefront of innovation. Content creation is great, but you can't, it's not like the forefront of innovation. Like technology, like AI is kind of where it's at. So by that point, I would love to be on kind of Elon Musk's level of innovation. Like I'm not necessarily bothered about being a billionaire and being world known and famous. No. I'm not interested in that, but I would love to be at the cutting edge of what's coming. Like the Neuralink of that age, whatever that might be. Like if I'm building the first, I don't know, proper realistic lifelike AI, for example, I'm sure we'll have it by then. But if I was building something like that, or working on a team building something like that, or just owning a company and being involved in that, and not just taking, because like in 20 years' time, at this point in time right now, I'm focused on how can I improve me and my life. In 20 years' time, I'm going to have kind of reached that limit. So in 20 years' time, it's going to be more, how can I improve your life? How can I improve the wider society's life? Like not just my house and my family and my friends, moving on to how can I improve my country? How can I improve the planet in some way? So what form that will take specifically, I don't know. But I would definitely like to delve into the technology sector in the future, because at the end of the day, that's where most innovation is happening on a global scale.
Definitely.
I'm not with me. I'm kind of, I keep my goals in terms of what stage I want to be at concrete. Like for example, I want to have multiple businesses under the Regal brand. What those businesses are specifically doesn't really matter that much to me. Like stuff I'm interested in and stuff I'm passionate about. But in 10 years, if I'm super passionate about fitness, like I just become like a fucking gym freak, then it could be Regal Fitness. If I'm not interested in that and I'm suddenly really invested in investing, then it could be the Regal Investors Group, for example. Like the means doesn't matter as much to me as long as I achieve the end.
I think that's a really good point about not sort of knowing what you want, what these businesses want to be in the future. Because if I look at what I'm interested in today and now, if I would have told myself like from 10 years ago that this is the stuff I'd be interested in, he'd probably just look at me like what?
Shut up, mate.
So
what are you talking about?
You never really know where you're gonna. Yeah, exactly. Like you never really know what you're going to be interested in, even like 5 years from now. So I think it is good, like you said, to keep an open mind and sort of realize that you don't necessarily know what these businesses are going to be about, but know that you want them.
It's like if I said, right, in the next 10 years I want to have Regal Marketing, Regal Fitness for argument's sake, and then let's say Regal Investing, if I said I want to have those 3 groups, in 10 years' time, I could not be interested in any of those things. I could want to do something completely different. Like you said, interests change all the time. And if I've locked myself into a plan, or mentally locked myself into a plan where I have to have this company, this company, and this company, I could then continue forcing myself to work towards that, when in reality I don't need to. You know, like I said, the end to me will always matter more than the means.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at life, I think. Definitely.
What about you anyway? 20 years time,
where
do you want to be?
Oh, bloody hell. I really should have considered that when I asked that question. So, ideally, if I'm completely and utterly honest, like, at the moment, my ideal life would be to sort of have a studio, like, in my house, maybe. Hopefully I can have it in my house. If not, then somewhere else, like we said earlier, like another building could be used. But just have a house, have like a dog, or 2 or 3, you know, however many we can physically fit in the house, and just have the financial freedom to be able to do whatever I want. Like, because I'm not physically, like, I'm not at the stage where you are at the moment, where you're like, oh, I want these business sectors. Like, I know I want these businesses. For me, I don't feel like I 100% know what business or sort of work I want to do. I feel like it's probably going to be editing and stuff like that, but I'm not 100% sure. So for me, it's about getting to that financial freedom stage where I will be able to choose what I want, like, down the line, if I wanted to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So getting to that financial freedom, yeah,
so you can choose, because at the end of the day, like, I'm incredibly lucky that I've found what I want to do this young. Like, ask most 20-year-olds, even 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, they don't know what the fuck they want to do with their life, and that's all right. Like, you've got time to figure it out. Like I say, I'm just very, very lucky that I've managed to figure this out so young. But like I say, that's a good goal though. You know, get that financial freedom available so that you can then choose when you're ready. That's the good way to look at it.
But exactly, that's my ideal. Like what you said earlier about, you want to be able to just get up and you know, get people on podcasts and just choose what you want to do. I'm the same. I want to be able to choose what I do with my days, and at the same time, you know, be financially sustainable to the point where I don't need to worry about, do I need to pay the money? Like, I need money to pay the rent, or, you know, I've got bills coming up I need to pay for. I don't want to have to worry about any of that, because that sort of stuff gets you trapped in a mindset of, oh, okay, I need to work really hard at my job this week to get to the end of the month so that I can pay the bills, and then you get trapped in the little rat race thing. And you just don't want to be in that position, do you? I want to be able to be financially free. So that's what I'm working towards at the moment.
That's a good goal to work towards.
Definitely. Yeah. So another question I've got for you would be, what is the biggest and most impactful piece of advice you've heard, if you had to narrow it down to one, that has stuck with you to this day?
I think it would be something that we've kind of touched on previously, and that would basically be, you miss out on 100% of the opportunities you don't take. Basically, just to summarise what that means is, you know, if you say no to every opportunity, and you need to say no to some opportunities, but if you say no to every single opportunity, if you just let them all pass you by and you don't just get on with it and try things and actually take action, then you're not, you know, with 100% certainty that you're going to fail at that because you've not taken the opportunity. Whereas if you take the opportunity, again, you don't have to take every opportunity.
Yeah.
If you take an opportunity you like and it, you know, it feels like a good fit for you, then, you know, fair enough. Maybe let's say you have a 1% chance of succeeding. That's 1%. That's a 1% chance of succeeding compared to 0. And all it takes is 1%. So, yeah, for me, it's just, don't take every opportunity, but take opportunities that you want to when they come to you.
1 second. Talking about 1%, my iPad is slowly deteriorating. Let me just grab charger quickly. Another question, like probably my last question I've got for you is, what would you like to be remembered for after you've passed away? What do you want the world to remember you, or do you not want the world to remember you? Just, you know.
I'm not interested in being remembered for fame. I don't want to be famous in that sense. What matters to me most, what matters to me above pretty much all else, is being like respected and being remembered and respected in the sense of like respected for what I do and remembered for what I did and achieved, not in the sense of being famous. And the way that I've kind of, to me, seems the most likely way that I'm going to achieve that is basically by having as much of a positive impact on as many people as possible. So essentially that's what I will be remembered, well, that's what I want to be remembered for as a default, is basically having a massive positive impact on a lot of people, basically, and kind of doing things for delivering value and providing that positive impact rather than doing it just for personal gain, which, like I said, in terms of like money, like that's obviously one of the biggest financial personal gains you can go for. Like money to me, you know, I appreciate having money and having money to live the life I want to live, but beyond that figure, I literally couldn't care less about it. Like if you said, right, you're only going to make, I don't know, let's say 60 grand a year for argument's sake, no matter how well your business does, you will only ever make 60 grand. Everything else that you make will get donated to charities or get put into straight back into the business. It's fine with me. That's completely fine with me, because as long as I have enough money to live and support the people around me, anything above that is just extra benefit that I can then put back into a company or donate to another cause and create that positive impact. Like, I'm by no means completely selfless. I am a selfish person. I always do. I do plenty of things for my selfish reasons. I would be lying if I said I didn't. But
you need to be selfish in the business world, don't you?
Exactly. Like
realistically.
And it's not selfish like, right, I'm going to screw you over just so I can make a bit of extra money. It's not like that. It's just more like the fact that I want to be remembered for having a positive impact on people. That in and of itself is selfish. I'm doing it for my own ego and my own desires. I'm not doing it for the sake of doing it, basically. So yes, okay, it's a nice thing. Yes, it's great because it's going to impact a lot of people. But I'm not doing it because I really genuinely care about making you specifically feel good. I'm doing it because I basically want to be respected. I want to be remembered for having a positive impact on people. So therefore, that in and of itself, that selfless purpose is selfish. So,
well, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like everyone deserves to be remembered for who they are. Like, it's not, it's not like people should be ashamed of being proud of what they've become and who they've helped and stuff like that. I feel like you need to know.
Yeah, 100%. You should be. Like obviously it is selfish, and when I say selfish, I don't mean like selfish. Obviously has a lot of negative connotations. I don't think of selfish as bad. Every single thing that every person does is selfish. You need to be selfish to get what you want from life, and everybody on Earth is living their life to get what they want from life, with the exception of well, even people like Gandhi or Mother Teresa, they still did what they did for selfish reasons. They selfishly wanted to see whatever cause it was improve. And yeah, like when I say selfish, I don't mean it in a negative way. Being selfish is a good thing. If you're not selfish, you're lying, basically. So yeah, like you 100%. You should be proud of what you do. Like pride isn't a bad thing. You should be proud of what you do. You should want to be remembered and respected, and have that selfish impact, whatever that might be.
definitely.
So yeah, you got any more questions, or shall we wrap it up?
I'm happy to wrap it up there if you are.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So yeah, if you want to stay on just for a little bit after I record. But yeah, big thank you for coming on.
Oh yeah,
been great having you. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. We talked about a lot
been
of
a
interesting stuff.
been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where you sort of get to in the future. I'm excited to see what like you sort of bring to the world.
Yeah, and vice versa. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where both of us can get to, and looking back on this podcast in 5 or 10 years, and hopefully laughing because of how little our ambitions were
Yeah,
compared
exactly.
to where we are. But
Exactly.
I
It'll be
don't
good.
know. We'll see.
Right. So thank you for coming on. Thank you everyone for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will see you all soon.